I want to be in charge of my own butthole.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 142nd episode of the SuperHouse Podcast, everybody. This is Andrew, and I'm once again joined by Stephanavius.
Oh my gosh, 142 episodes. That was my dog Rabbit. Y'all familiar with her? And past episodes, they're popping in cute little cameos. Hey, shut up!
It's like Kevin Smith saying, "Shut up, Shecky."
Yeah, Shecky. I know, she's our Shecky.
Yeah,
for sure.
much.
But anyway, damn.
So this week, we're going to be continuing our deep dive into the Hasbro-verse, just like we did last week with Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. This week, we're going to be going over ROM, the SpaceKnight.
ROM. Hell yes. I'm only vaguely familiar with ROM, but here we go. Let's do this.
Dude, that was my question. I was going to ask off our notes here
I am
what
psychic.
your familiarity was, but pretty much nothing, huh?
Well, just I've seen a lot of drawings of the character, and I've seen a lot of comic book covers, basically. That's it.
Okay.
And
all
then,
right.
yeah.
I didn't know
maybe.
much either. Again, we just mentioned Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith has mentioned it a couple times before on his podcast, and we'll get to more of that later. But that's pretty much my familiarity as well, other than seeing some covers
Nice.
online. So anyway, let's get right to it. What is ROM, the SpaceKnight?
The ROM property was launched in 1978 by Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers release of a toy created by Scott Dankman, Richard C. Levi, and Brian L. McCoy, manifesting as a robotic-looking outer space originated action figure, riding the post-Star Wars wave, right, brandishing lighting and sound effects. Marvel Comics subsequently supplied a substantial backstory with the 1979 launch of the series, ROM SpaceKnight, which featured writing by Bill Mantlo and art by Sal Buscema. Frank Miller drew the cover of the 1979 premiere issue. The series became well regarded amongst comic book connoisseurs.
Yes, indeed. So, the story for ROM, all right? What the fuck is this shit about? So, the story centers on the mission of ROM, an alien from the planet Galador, who, through an experimental procedure, was physically altered to become a robotic space knight, armed with an array of weaponry, specifically designed to identify and neutralize a malevolent race of shape-shifting alien magicians.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Called dire wraiths.
Oh my god, fuck yeah. I got the horns up right now.
It's metal as fuck, bro.
Metal as fuck, dude. Concept album.
Dire wraiths, by the way, we all know that, what's his name? God, not Tolkien. Game of Thrones guy. Oh my god.
J.J. Abrams? No. George R. Martin?
George R. Martin. He wrote Dire Wolves, and we all know that he's a big comic book fan in general. He loved the Fantastic Four and shit like that. So I wonder, man. Because that's very close. That's Dire and then W. A W word.
Dire Wolves, Dire Wraiths. But I mean, and Tolkien, what is it? The Ring Wraiths? That's all true, yeah. They're all swimming in the same fucking natural spring.
Everybody's
hot
reading
spring.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Venn diagram, man.
Right. Isn't everything in life as such?
Especially nerd shit. It's all incestuous.
Yeah, incestuous mythology.
Pretty
much. That's gonna be the name of my occult bookstore.
There's quite a bit of those in LA, but that's a whole other story.
Dude, we're reaching a new age. The age of the
Aquarius.
The wholesome occult. Yeah, the age of Aquarius, more likely.
Some shit like that. All right.
Tecate.
Beer. Oishida. All right.
Drink it. It's beer.
Anyway. ROM's pursuit of the Wraith spills over to Earth, where some continue to hide. Of course, with ROM SpaceKnight being a Marvel title, the Space Cyborg's exploits occasionally got him entangled with other Marvel characters such as the X-Men, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage, and even led to an encounter with Galactus,
Holy shit!
Back
That's
on
pretty
his planet
cool.
Galador, which is that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I love that.
It's cool, and it's also very interesting that Marvel and DC both do this and have done it for a long time, but the crossover aspect of those big companies and how this character wasn't necessarily conceived, right, as a piece of the Marvel universe, but just so happened that he played a role in it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was part of the Marvel universe to begin with, and connected with all that shit, man.
Yeah.
There's a cover with him fighting Wolverine. Okay, so Stefan is going to read this part. Take it away, Stefan.
He is a Space Knight, Lord of the Soul Star Order, one of their most powerful knights. The evil Dire Wraiths fear him more than all others, earning him the nickname Wraith Slayer. He has hounded them and kept them underground for centuries. He alone could wipe them off the face of existence. He is ROM, Lord of the Soul Star Order, ROM, the Wraith Slayer, ROM, the Space Knight.
Fuck yeah, bro.
Hell yeah, they'll put some music behind there.
ROM, coming to theaters this summer.
I love it. Let's go, baby.
It's awesome, man. I love how metal comics are, or they can be at least. So he seems to be fully part of the Transformers universe as well, and that's because I guess he's part of Hasbro now. More on that later. But there's always been a lot of crossovers in Marvel, of course, but also it seems. Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. There were the Transformers were also part of the Marvel universe initially as well. So. Even back in the day, I think that there was, I guess they thought, well, he's a robot, let's put him in with the other robots, you know, it's the 80s. So yeah, I think that's why that happened. And Bill Mantlo, we're going to talk about this guy a little bit more in a minute, but this guy really elevated the character with having a great space opera backstory for ROM. So what I have here is, it says, ROM is a guy from the planet Galador, a utopia filled with beautiful women and beautiful people and high technology. They run afoul of the Dire race, a vile race of genocidal magic-wielding shapeshifters. Imagine the Skrulls if they weren't bumbling idiots. To defend Galador from the Wraiths, some of the planet's citizens volunteer to become cyborg warriors called SpaceKnights. Undergoing this process means they must leave some portion of their human forms behind. Their penis. Held in stasis until the war is over, and they can be restored to their full human forms.
We will unfreeze your penis as soon as the galaxy is safe.
Dude, this is some genius shit from Mantlo. He sees a robot that he likes, and he's like, this whole thing about sacrificing your human body for out of a sense of duty for war.
Right.
That, bro, Mantlo cracked the code on that one. That's amazing. It could have been just some bullshit robot toy, but then he writes this. Come on, dude. It's ridiculous.
Not just pointy ears and 3 claws, you know.
You make it about sacrifice and duty.
It's a deeper. Sorry to stop everything, halt the tracks, but it's a deeper look at kind of what's going on with the Silver Surfer, Norrin Rad, Galactus, and stuff. It's a little bit deeper dive into that kind of like idea of sacrificing one's humanity for like a greater good.
I love Silver Surfer, by the way, man.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah.
God. Anything that deals with that, the kind of real deep space shit that he goes into, love it. All right. Anyway,
and if you'll notice, Silver Surfer has no dick, so it seems as though
you're bringing it back around.
The real price, the humanity that is in quotes, seems to be they freeze your dick for a while. Anyway, save the world, you get it back.
All right.
ROM could also be trippy as hell. Mantlo took his ROM stories in all kinds of bizarre directions. The Dire Wraith's shape-shifting abilities created lots of creepy conspiracy stories, as little by little it was revealed how many corporations and government agencies had been infiltrated by aliens in human form. Since the Dire Wraiths also use magic powers, Mantlo could get really weird. Haunted houses, alien lizard creatures, human wearing SpaceKnight armor, hybrid human alien kids, Doctor Strange dream sequences, all fair game. And a solid chunk of the series was illustrated by Sal Buscema. To be honest, he phones it in a few panels, if each issue. But he could also draw up some incredible scenes of space energy, weird fire, and morphing aliens.
What the fuck?
Oh, man.
Oh, does your throat hurt?
I think I'm fine. So, moving on from kind of the basic info there, we can't really get into the cartoon because there never was one made for ROM. The closest thing we ever got was this one appearance on Robot Chicken, and let's listen to that right now. So, Stefan, if you want to cue that up. Yeah. All right, so this is the Robot Chicken that they did for ROM the SpaceKnight. I think this is the only one, and this is really the only animation that we ever got. So for ROM SpaceKnight, at least so far. So anyway, 3, 2, 1, start.
ROM SpaceKnight, a warrior made of solid metal. He's beaten the galaxy's toughest villains.
I have not seen this.
A foe in every way.
It's cool they at least did this.
Jim,
yeah.
The guy with a giant magnet.
Come here.
No.
Come on.
Nuh-uh.
Chicken.
You are.
ROM Space Chicken.
Mature.
Yeah, your mom was mature last night.
What?
Did her.
I'll teach you.
Teach this.
Did her.
What has he done now?
I didn't need it anyway.
Oh, ROM eats on my magnet.
You suck.
That's what your mom said.
She did not. My mom was a saint.
Saints suck.
Saints suck.
Oh my god.
And that's it. 40 seconds of fucking
ROM animation.
ROM animation that we've ever gotten.
That was great.
I mean, it's
that
fine.
was funny, but it does not do justice, obviously, to the images. I mean, if you Google fucking ROM and the comic book images and stuff, they're amazing.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot more that could be done that was never done.
For sure, but it was a joke.
Yeah,
but,
it's fine. It's fine. It's Robot Chickens, what they do.
Yeah. But damn, the character looks cool.
Yeah, ROM, he always had a pretty cool look. So, Stefan, let's get into the section that I think you like the most, maybe, since you're the Hot Package guy.
Hell yeah.
And that is the toys.
Yes, figures.
I love action figures.
Don't call them dolls. They're action figures.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's not. I don't. I'm sitting there playing with them or anything like that when I'm not playing with them. But
they don't comb their hair. You do fucking karate moves, man.
Yeah, right. I got a figure over here and chop a board in half. Anyway.
Jumping kicks and shit. Yeah, so even though there never was a ROM cartoon, it did, I think, all start out with the toy. So let's listen to a commercial from the 80s.
1979.
Oh, 79.
It says, which is crazy. Toys in the 70s. What a wild time. That's like the golden age. Anyway.
We're usually in the 80s and 90s guys, but this is late 70s. Yeah. All right, so 3, 2, 1, start.
This is ROM, the SpaceKnight. You can imagine he comes from another galaxy with his flashing neutralizer. Activate ROM. You can imagine he has rockets to blast into space and a translator that communicates with lights and sounds. You can even imagine his respirator lets him breathe in any atmosphere. ROM comes with the 3 plug-in accessories shown. 9-volt battery not included. ROM, the SpaceKnight, an electronic toy new from Parker Brothers.
This definitely would be something I'd get.
Yeah. Really? I think, and maybe it's just because it's the 70s, but I don't think I would buy a figure that had this little articulation this.
Oh,
kind
I mean, if I was at
size.
at that age at the time.
Yeah, maybe if I was younger, for sure. ROM is this the first time we've ever seen ROM?
I think, but then again, I don't know, man. I need
Parker Brothers.
I couldn't find that in the research. Maybe I should do a little bit deeper, but I don't know if that came out before or after the comics, actually.
Yeah. It definitely, like earlier you were saying, like riding the wave of like Star Wars popularity and like sci-fi toys and stuff becoming bigger.
Yeah.
What was I saying? It's interesting to see. Like, what am I trying to say? Sorry.
Okay, I found it. The American comic book premiered in December of '79, so the toy might have come out just a little bit earlier, or maybe they both came out that Christmas. I'm not sure, but it was definitely both '79.
Yeah, if I was a little kid, I would definitely have probably wanted this, and it was probably huge too. There probably wasn't many toys like that.
Is there a split in the action figure community as far as like some people not care about articulation, or is it pretty much across the board that everybody wants articulation?
Yeah, I can't. That's what gets me about this kind of figure, and like I like older figures. It's like I can't imagine wanting to play at something that you couldn't like pose in a cool way.
Right.
Because I had again, to go back to my childhood and playing toys, me and my friend Jerry would like come up with these huge elaborate like mythologies with our figures and our characters, and then his cousin would come over and play with us, and he'd be like, "Hey friend, wanna fight?" Clack 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 clack, you know what I mean? It was just like so primitive and uninspired, the way that his approach to it. So I feel like that's the only thing you could do with a toy like this, where that doesn't really move. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 points of articulation, and that's like probably like a kitschy thing. But I think that would, even for '79, that's kind of like primitive. It feels to me like, remember when Superhuman Samurai figures came out? It was like a cheap hunk of plastic. It was just like, and you press a button and it made like a sound or whatever.
I don't remember that all that much.
Yeah, I don't mean to knock this toy specifically as such, but to answer your question, yeah, I think from my perspective, like a decent amount of articulation. For me, it's like Kenner in 1990, 1992 or whatever, or Toy Biz. I think knocked it out of the park. Bend at the knees, bend at the waist. Swivel on the waist, bend at the shoulders, bend at the elbows, turn at the head. Perfect.
Right.
And for me, that was definitely a huge thing. I would not buy something that just, I have a few figures. Kenner actually their figures only did have 5 points of articulation, I think, for a lot of their series, but they did good sculpts that already made them seem like they were in a dynamic pose. Right. So those aren't so bad, like Batman, and I have a steel Shaquille O'Neal steel figure that I really love, that I absolutely love. I've never seen the movie, but I love the figure. Anyway, but my favorite figures were always those Toy Biz X-Men figures, because they were able to like really hone in on the points of articulation to get a lot of good expression out of it. And I feel like as a kid, even I was thinking like, I need that amount of expression to have a good time, to make a good story. Whereas my friend's cousin would come over and just be like, "Hi buddy, let's battle." It's just like, get out of here. What's wrong with you?
Right.
Did you read a book?
But
anyway, not to knock this toy at all, but it's reminiscent of being a kid and like discerning between what a good toy was, a cool toy, and a not cool toy. And you come into conflict with this with McFarlane toys, because they look real good, but they're not super posable.
Those are just basically sculptures for your desk.
Right. But early on, because that's the thing, McFarlane's good at that. He's good at being able to kind of like see what's ahead. And he knew collectors are going to buy that shit up. They were, NECA would not be around today if it was for McFarlane.
Right.
But anyway, the early Spawn toys were a little bit more like the Toy Biz thing and blah, blah, blah. But it's just the way it's all evolved. I could talk about it forever. I think maybe in the 70s I might have bought this figure, but if I had known any better, I probably wouldn't have even been interested in ROM based on this figure alone.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm not in love with it, but I'm just saying, if I was like 6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
hell, maybe 12, who
Yeah.
knows? Like
And
in '79, I might have been into it, but
Yeah.
now it's not something I would get at all.
Right. And it's the thing is it's now reminiscent of figures that are coming out now. I don't know if you've been in the toy aisle lately at a Target or a Walmart or something.
No.
But the toys that they're selling kids these days that aren't the $20 Marvel Legend or whatever are fucking hunks of junk, man. They're pieces of shit. Like, let me tell you how I really feel. They got these fucking like tall figs or big figs, they call them, I think, of Thor, Captain America. 5 points of articulation. They're like, they're like a foot and 4 inches or something like that. They're like really tall, and they just don't like. What are you gonna do with that? You can make them hug. You can't even pose them on your desk. They're too big to just shove away somewhere, and they're big hollow pieces of plastic. And then the $8 to $6 range of figures is just, again, 5 points of articulation, but just a smaller version. It's like they're really gypping kids nowadays in terms of toys. Like, if you put 2 more points of articulation in those lower end figures, kids would be interested in buying action figures these days. And the only people that are sustaining the industry are adults, because those figures are good, but the price point is like, I have a job. So, anyway, I'm getting on this whole tirade, but I just think toys are a really beautiful fucking thing. And this ROM figure is awesome in terms of history and the way that it's come out. And actually, I kind of would want one now just to have in a
piece of history type of thing.
Yeah, exactly, totally. But it's definitely not something I would want, because you see figures like this now. It's definitely not something I think I would have wanted in 1980. And I don't know, hard to say really, but anyway, that's my diatribe on the whole fucking thing.
All right. I mean, that's a whole
Right
other conversation because
thanks for indulging me for a minute.
Do kids even like action figures when they just get an iPad shoved in their face when they're 3 years old? It's a bigger conversation to have.
If I can ever get the time one day, I want to do a line of figures that kids want to buy, and for that ripe age where it really stimulates the imagination. Kids want them, adults want them too. Toys are the future. Wait until augmented reality and action figures come into play. You could have whole play sets, dude, whole worlds that your figs are in. Fuck that. Anyway, whole other conversation. Let's get back to ROM. I love ROM.
All right. So back to ROM.
I love ramen.
As you can hear in the commercial, this was a Parker Brothers action figure, and that was rare for them because they mainly did board games. This might have been their first action figure, as far as I can tell. So,
well, yeah, that would make sense.
This was common at the time too, where they created the toy first. This happened with Transformers and a bunch of other stuff, right?
And you build a story around it to kind of make it pop.
Exactly. So they made the story after the fact.
Yeah.
And thanks to Bill Mantlo, it was actually a good one. So then the ROM was sold to Parker Brothers, and then the toy was originally named COBOL. That's COBOL, after the programming language.
COBOL. Touch me.
Early or late 70s fucking computer programming languages.
Yeah.
And then later changed to ROM, after CD-ROM, read-only memory, by Parker Brothers executives. So I gotta say, they did the executives did the right move, probably. Yeah,
smart move. It seems like definitely ROM. It's just like a buzzword at the time for sure. That flies.
It's much easier, right?
And then from there to like conceptualize the type of mythology that surrounds this character at that point is like. These guys are heavy hitters. This is Mark McGuire over here. We're talking fucking $1 million home runs.
Or whoever's heavy hitting right now.
Yeah. I don't know anything about
like
baseball.
15 years ago, bro.
Fuck you. You and your sports balls.
Sammy Sosa. All right. The toy set a precedent for the game publishing company, which up until that time had only ever produced board games, as we said before, as this was a new venture for the company, and given that electronic toys were still very new, a decision was made to produce the figure as cheaply as possible. As a result, the final product had very few points of articulation, and twin red LEDs served as ROM's eyes instead of originally envisioned green. which were more expensive to produce.
That was actually a happy accident there, because this toy, if it was green, it would not have the same kind of punch, I think.
Yeah, silver and green, it's okay. Like, silver gets along with everything pretty much, but silver and red, there's something special about that, right?
There's somehow there's like identity behind the red, you know, like green would just be like a drone. It would just be like every other fucking robot, you know. But the red, you
associate with like the red LED look has a certain look.
Yeah, and I think like red eyes you would associate as being like an evil kind of character or whatever, but in this case I think the design of the character itself and those red eyes just really kind of resonates really well, because more than anything, when you're looking into that faceplate of ROM, it looks like you're looking into a computer. Everything really kind of matches up.
Right,
and
right.
I can see that.
Now that you say that, they probably wanted green because that was what a monochrome.
Exactly.
Yeah,
totally.
I get you.
Yeah. It seems like that, and so by happy accident, I think by being this like warrior type character, the red really gives it the attitude it needs, and it's like that's like the most subtle thing. It's crazy, but it works.
Yeah, so there's a lot of happy accidents happening with this character.
Yeah, ain't life about just those happy accidents?
Hell yeah, boy, I know what you're saying.
Oh, look, there's an extra Tecate. Who would have known?
Goodness. How many Tecates do you got?
Tecate. Enough.
I had a beer or 12. All right. Not long after its debut, ROM appeared in the corner box of the cover of Time magazine in December 10th, 1979 issue. It was featured in the interior article, Those Beeping Thinking Toys, which decried ROM's lack of articulation and predicted it would end up among the dust balls under the playroom sofa.
Like I said, I ain't fucking mincing words on this, man. There's definitely, it was like, even back in the day, there was like up until like the late 60s, you could tell like a cheaply made, Chinese-made, Taiwanese toy from something that, well, they're all made in China and Taiwan, don't get me wrong. But, you know, you could tell something that would capture the imagination as opposed to something that was just really kind of like standard. And so that's,
right.
Seems like Time magazine. See, I'm not alone here, and I'm
even they knew
just as smart as Time magazine.
Yeah, Stefan, just as smart as Time magazine. Oh man.
Yes.
All right, so anyway, cut to 2017 at San Diego Comic-Con. A new action figure of ROM was released for the convention at HasbroToyShop.com in limited quantities as part of the IDW Revolution, set alongside figures of Jetfire, Roadblock, Action Man, Leoric, as we said before.
Yeah.
From Visionaries, and characters from Micronauts, and even a Dire, I guess they should have said this earlier, but a Dire Wraith from ROM.
From ROM
and then
itself, yeah.
Matt Tracker from Mask, which we'll also get to in another episode.
And this particular Comic-Con for toys, like toys are really having like a really nice little renaissance right now. And this particular Comic-Con package is fucking choice, man. The Visionary figure that's in this has like a foil sticker on it, but it's still a cool figure. But that they included ROM, and that the only other toy that ROM has been made in is the first one, or I think is what we said. So it's really cool. So you finally do get the version of ROM that could be a little bit more fun to play with or pose, and this package in particular, this Comic-Con exclusive, I think is going to be like, in terms of for toy collectors, it's like going to be one of those holy grail, like legendary items in years to come, whether or not this Hasbro-verse even hits,
Yeah, and like when we mentioned the IDW Revolution, I think that's all them trying to figure out how the movies were going to work in comic book form. They're really trying to experiment, even, well, it's only a year ago, but even probably before that. And
IDW has been.
I like that they're trying. They're really trying to make this work, and I think it's cool, man. And all the exclusive figures at Comic-Con. I just got one at Power Morphicon this weekend, and it's great.
Yeah, nice.
At conventions, it's great. It's great for appealing to the hardcore fandom.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And who doesn't love that?
Exactly. So back to the ROM toy. I did look on eBay, and the original toy from 1979 goes from anywhere from $100 to $200, depending on its condition. And that makes, I guess, sense because it's a niche item, and it is from '79, so it's a while ago. So, despite its limitations, it does really dig itself into that historical aspect. Like toy, comic, whatever. It seemed, from what the information we've gotten so far, it seems like it was a hit. Like it hit really nicely for a niche audience, and exactly and that toy.
I mean, it would make sense. Like for $100, like if I found it, I would get it for sure.
Exactly, bro.
Even though I'd probably never play with it, but
it'd be a cool little desk item.
It would be cool. People would be like, "Holy shit, is that ROM?" It's like, dude, fucking nerd. Yes, it's
yeah, bro. You fucking stupid little robot.
Just start headbutting each other. Tune in next week. Tune in next week for our Jetsons deep dive.
Oh God, that's not happening, at least currently. Although there is a Jetsons run going on at DC, like they did with Flintstones, and I wonder if it's as deep as the Flintstones one, because man, that run fucking ruled.
Yeah, okay,
I love it.
I gotta read that shit for sure.
Yeah, man, Yeah, you really should. And speaking of comics, we're going into the comic section now. We're leaving the toy section. Sorry, Stefan.
It's fine. I do love it, so let's just make it quick.
The passion is palpable, dude.
I love toys, man. I don't know where that's gonna lead me, but fucking, it's not bad. I got 4 of the choicest Ninja Turtles on my entertainment center right now, so no biggie. Anyway, moving on.
All right, so ROM, the SpaceKnight, was actually, is there even a "the" in it? It's ROM SpaceKnight.
Is it?
Was designed as a toy. And Marvel's comic about it was supposed to be just a throwaway marketing gimmick. Mm-hmm. However, Bill Mantlo, like we said before, made a story about duty and sacrifice, and he also made ROM fall in love with a human and took him on fantastic pulp adventures.
Damn, that sucks. His dick is on a whole other planet.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. And he made something that far outlasted this shitty toy. Right? So he really elevated the whole thing.
Yes, man. That's what I'm saying. It's really a special thing. It already feels this such.
Gizmodo wrote an article a year ago or a couple of years ago entitled ROM the SpaceKnight, or ROM SpaceKnight might be the best science fiction comic of all time.
Ah, shit. Bold statement.
That's quite a bold statement.
But hey, I'm inclined to not be
to not say no immediately.
Yeah. I'm inclined to be not surprised by such a headline.
That's a hell of a statement, but yeah, I mean, it's cool. Sounds good to me.
I'm ready for it. I'm like, this is good. What a great introduction to something that's already making me tingle down below.
Yeah.
No. I'm preoccupied mentally here a little bit.
No problem. All right, so let's talk about Bill Mantlo real quick, this guy that elevated the whole thing, all right? He elevated the whole storytelling of this whole thing, of what would otherwise be a one-dimensional character. And not to be too much of a bummer, but we got to talk about this guy because his story's worth telling. Bill Mantlo was born in 1951. He's an American comic book writer, primarily at Marvel, best known for 2 licensed toy properties whose adventures occurred in the Marvel Universe, Micronauts and ROM. Okay? He also co-created Rocket Raccoon and Cloak and Dagger.
Nice.
He was also, after, somewhere along the line, he became a public defender. He was a lawyer. After he started writing comics, too. Not before, I think.
Pretty badass.
Because, especially at that time, there's probably not a whole lot of money being made in comics.
Yeah.
So, this is the bummer part. He was the victim of a hit-and-run accident in 1992.
Oh.
He's been in institutional care ever since. He was struck by a car while rollerblading.
Ooh.
The driver of the car fled the scene, never identified. He suffered severe head trauma. And according to his biographer, cartoonist David Yurkovic, in 2006, for a while Bill was comatose. Although no longer in a coma, the brain damage he suffered in the accident is irreparable.
Yeah, dang.
In 2014, Marvel and Disney granted Mantlo a private preview screening of Guardians of the Galaxy, which featured Rocket Raccoon. And Michael Mantlo said his brother, I guess Bill, was pleased with the adaptation, which credits him as the character's co-creator and enjoyed the occasion. So he might be cognizant enough to know what's going on, but still he'll never be 100%.
I've seen that before, like kind of like the ability to react and like absorb without being able to really respond.
Exactly. That's probably where he's at.
Hot damn, man. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. Talk about a guy that really fucking took it to the next level of something that really wouldn't have gotten there without him, honestly. No one would have given a shit.
Yeah.
So, December 2007 in Portland, Oregon, the comic book shop Floating World Comics sponsored SpaceKnight, a tribute to Bill Mantlo, an art show consisting almost entirely of various artists' interpretations of ROM.
Cool.
This helped to fund Mantlo's care, and they also had in 2010 SpaceKnight 2. So, and he also received the Bill Finger Award in 2014.
Nice. SpaceKnight spelled like night, like a night out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like a night out. Yes, yes.
That's cool.
I should have said that. Yeah. So
shit, anyway, I want to go to SpaceKnight 3.
I know, right? Well, kind of want to go, man.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, kind of a sad story about him, but at least we can honor his legend here in this podcast and all that stuff.
Let's get ROM going.
He's still alive, but just
lead the Hasbro-verse with ROM. Let's see it.
I know,
Marvel's dragging ass on Silver Surfer. Fucking jump in there.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, so let's get back to the comics part of this whole thing.
Idris Elba.
ROM's part of the Marvel Universe, at least initially. But somewhere along the line, he became part of IDW because he became fully part of Hasbro. Okay? So the comic book outlasted the toy line, or the toy, I guess only one. And the series lasted for 75 issues. I think this is the original run that started in 79, all the way to February of 86. So that's a good 7-year run right there, right? It's pretty good.
Nice, yeah.
ROM's regular encounters with mainstream heroes and villains established him as part of the Marvel continuity at that time, and Hasbro has him now. So on the IDW website for the recent ROM comic reboot, they have this for their synopsis.
We've been invaded, and only a SpaceKnight can save us. First there was his epic return in this year's FCBD number 0, and now the ongoing tale of ROM begins in earnest. Christos Gage, Chris Ryall, and David Messina kick off the wildest new series of the year as ROM's war with the Dire Wraiths hits close to home in Earthfall Part 1. Damn those Dire Wraiths. Damn them to hell.
That's the reboot synopsis. I did find on eBay a 34-issue run of the original run for about $31, so that's less than $1 a piece, y'all.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Link in comments.
Yeah, exactly. But going back to the reboot here, I found some comments like we did on the Visionaries. I did find some comments on some reviews of the comic on Reddit.
I really liked it. Solid story, solid art. I like that the Dire Wraiths seem much more powerful. It really makes it feel like the odds are stacked against ROM. Also, it feels true to the original story. In contrast, I have no clue what's happening in Micronauts.
You gotta always build something up and then take somebody else down. That's the nerd way, isn't
it? Yes.
Oh my god.
Oh, nice. That was fun.
All right. The guy mentioned Micronauts there. We're going to be covering him in the next episode, so stay tuned for that, y'all. Then there was an Amazon reviewer that also had a positive reaction to this reboot comic series. He said,
I love this series. Kudos to IDW for reimagining ROM. It was the first comic book I ever owned way back in the 70s. Back when Marvel was publishing the character, IDW has taken the character and given him the Christos Gage, who has added personality and depth, along with a sense of honor, making ROM more than just a robot, but a knight.
Let me read this last one.
okay, go ahead.
Phenomenal reboot of a childhood favorite.
Oh, God. Yeah, this guy is just totally... all right.
I liked it, and I might buy the second one.
Oh, man, I might, yeah. It's always like a little bit. You got to give it a little bit of shit. It can never be totally... Even though you're a total nerd about it, you're never totally into it. Like, it's always like, tapered. It's measured when it shouldn't be. Anyway, all right. All right, so we've been talking about ROM, this superhero that was at Marvel and now at Hasbro IDW. So what the fuck are his powers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm already in, but yeah.
I'm already hard, but shit.
ROM's armor was composed of the Galadorian metal plandanium. It is extremely durable, even going so far as to stand up to Wolverine's adamantium claws. It was shown to be damaged from time to time, demonstrating that the plandanium is not indestructible. The armor had self-repair capabilities, though it took several weeks to repair major damage. It provided him with superhuman strength, flight, and the ability to travel through space via backpack rockets. It allowed him to breathe in any atmosphere and survive the vacuum of space. In SpaceKnight form, ROM also did not need to eat or sleep. Controls near the torso allowed ROM to lower the armor's temperature to well below zero. The armor stored a solar charge. That could be used as a weapon and could drain power sources by mere contact. It gave him the ability to summon 3 pieces of equipment stored in subspace.
Plandanium.
Plandanium? I don't know how you say this shit.
Plandanium. Unobtainium.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's still my favorite. That's,
God.
They put it in the movie. That's great. Anyway.
I know. Yeah, they went all the way with it. So
Anyway.
talking like SpaceKnight form, dude, he does like a little transformation. I love that.
Cool.
That'll always get me.
Yeah. Definitely.
SpaceKnight form. ROM.
He's got
also,
cruiser mode and fucking battle mode.
Yeah, I like that. That's awesome. So apparently in that form he didn't need to eat or sleep.
So wait, he needed to eat and sleep as just regular ROM?
You know what? I guess so.
Damn it, we gotta fucking...
We need to read this shit.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't read it either, but I'm like super down. And I am very familiar, like in a comic book cultural kind of way, with the image of the character and stuff like that. It always just seemed like like a Star Trek thing, like a thinking man's kind of thing. And when I was younger reading comic books, it was a little bit more about the pulp at the time. So I always thought it was like a Brainiac type of comic. In a lot of ways it is, but it seems like now at this age,
more
I'm like,
pulpy, man.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the cool shit right here.
It's a callback to some pulp shit to me, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
So anyway, there were controls near the torso that allowed ROM to lower the armor's temperature to well below zero. The armor stored a solar charge that could be used as a weapon and could drain power sources by mere contact.
Cool.
It gave him the ability to summon 3 pieces of equipment stored in subspace. That's probably a whole other conversation right there, the subspace part. It's something to do with hyperspace.
It seems like there is an aspect of this character that still has some kind of connection to its humanity or whatever.
Right. It seems like he can go back to being human at some point. So
yeah, for it to be like him having to even change the temperature of the armor or the limitations that are applied to like his superpowers.
I mean, there's obviously limitations, but there's also like he's kind of a robot just temporarily. He was originally a human, and that whole thing makes it more interesting to me.
Yeah, so there's still something within, that's not all computer. It's not all like, that's what makes the character compelling is that it's not like this soulless, just kind of like I'm gonna save you, kind of thing. You know?
Right. And whatever he eats whenever he's in non-SpaceKnight robot form, I have no idea. Maybe that's explained in the comics. Anyway, all right. So moving on from comics into the movie portion. Just like Visionaries, this is all planned to be part of the Hasbro-verse, the HCU, the Hasbro Cinematic Universe, and they've even gotten Zach Penn on board to be the screenwriter. This guy did Ready Player One, and he also did Last Action Hero. He sold that script when he was like 23 or something.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, he was one of the youngest, hottest screenwriters at that time because he got, it was like early 90s or mid 90s Schwarzenegger, like whenever he was in like real prime time, So this Zach Penn, and he did Ready Player One recently, which was pretty good, not the best thing ever, but it was very competent, very competent screenplay.
Yeah, and he also, I think we mentioned this on the podcast at one point before, but he also he did a movie with Werner Herzog, a mockumentary, comedic mockumentary called The Incident at Loch Ness.
Oh, I kind of want to see that.
Which he also acts in, and it's really funny. It's a really good little kind of like, if you catch it at some time, it's really worth a watch.
All right.
That's how I became familiar with him, and then I think he's also had some involvement with like the X-Men universe and stuff. So
he's been around, man.
Yeah, he's been around for sure.
For them to tap in for this guy, it's like, wow, you guys you're not fucking around.
That'd be cool. It'd be really cool to see what becomes of a ROM film. I'm super excited about that.
Right. So also, like we said before, James Gunn apparently loves ROM, and Kevin Smith as well. It seems like a lot of people that read the original comics really do love this series, this character, and it seems to have been kind of like this, beloved little hidden gem of a series during its initial publication. But James Gunn did say that the movie will not be without its problems. And when I first read this, I thought it was going to be something to do with, the story, like the story itself was broken or something. But it's actually not that. It's this. He says,
I don't know this because this is the problem. ROM, the story, is owned by Marvel Comics. So the Dire Wraiths, all that story is owned by Marvel Comics. The character and the toys are owned by Paramount. So you can't have both. Now, you can't have the Space Knight at Marvel, and you can't have the Space Knights without the story. What always interested me was more the story of the Space Knights, people who gave up their humanity to save their planet was always very interesting to me. So there may be something to do with that, but it won't be with ROM.
That's good.
I don't know. That's what James Gunn sounds to me in my head.
Sort of normalish, actually. He's got a fairly normal voice, but this quote is pretty.
I put a little stank on it.
Stereotypically nerdy, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I found this on Reddit as well concerning
but hold on,
rights.
before we move on,
ahead.
it's interesting what he has to say too, because it seems like in that statement he's a smart enough guy that he's like dropping kind of hints to be like, if you're gonna approach this, like maybe focus on the bigger aspect as opposed to just the singular character itself. It seems like is what he's saying.
I mean, it's tough.
Like
if they do, it'll be another Guardians of the Galaxy type of thing where it'll be, if they take just the Space Knights,
you're right.
Then that'll be like, what you call it, like
ensemble kind of.
And an ensemble, like very, very hidden gem of a property, and they'd have to kind of have that kind of like treatment again, which is fine. I'm sure they could do it. They got all the money in the fucking world, so they could just throw out the best screenwriters and like make something.
Yeah, it's either that or like, because it doesn't seem like there'd be enough money behind it for Paramount and Marvel to make a deal the way Sony did, for this property. So it would be like, or I don't know, maybe Marvel could just as easily just give their consent maybe and have like some kind of credit or some kind of marketing deal. I don't know. But yeah, how do you make a ROM movie without ROM?
Dude, well, they're making a Joker movie without Batman, so the sky's the limit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so what it seems like to me is James Gunn is just saying, like, he's kind of like, if I were to make this movie, I'd kind of come from this angle.
The name, though, if they made a
Yeah.
movie called Space Knights, bro,
Yeah.
I'm already in. Like,
Right, that's what I'm saying. Space Knights, and then the Dire Wraiths are the bad guys and
the
shit.
name
You could
sells itself, bro.
you could compound on, you know, the more mainstream public's idea of what this universe is like, you know, while incorporating the things that make ROM so good in the comics. You know what I mean? Because if there's this type of speed bump, you'd have to. I feel like you would have to approach it from an angle of it being like a new IP or whatever they call it nowadays, a new, you know, franchise or whatever. And Space Knights.
Speaking of IP,
be awful,
I was
you know.
I was at a Star Wars panel at Comic-Con like 2 or 3 years ago. It was for like the fucking Force Awakens, I think. This is years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And in Hall H, this fan asked something about an IP with Star Wars, and J.J. Abrams said to the guy at the panel, you know, if we thought of this in terms of being an IP, we probably shouldn't be making Star Wars.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
That's so cold and businesslike.
Yeah, wow, that's so interesting. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I was there. I heard it from his fucking J.J. Abrams mouth.
Wow, that's incredible. But it's so true, you know. It's a lot of nowadays. It's so hard to get an original property off the ground to a certain degree. Like Robert Kirkman has put in years at Image Comics, and you know, all we really have in terms of like movies, entertainment stuff is Walking Dead.
But he has a bunch more.
And he's got a bunch more, and they're looking to do an Invincible movie, which I live and swear by. Invincible is such a great comic series, so good, Robert Kirkman. But you know, he's been there for years and put that work and put that time in to get to the point where they're now just considering maybe making movies based on his properties. You know.
Right. All right, so back to the Reddit guy. He said. Actually, this is not really that funny of a quote, so I'll just pretty much read it straight. Dire Wraiths were mentioned in the original Parker Brothers toy material, so Hasbro owns the name. Dire Wraiths, the name, I guess is what he's trying to say. They look completely different in the new series, though. I guess the new series is the reboot comic series that they're talking about. Yeah. So, anyway, this whole thing, again, like we said in the beginning, and this whole series is about a deep dive into the potential Hasbro-verse, the Hasbro cinematic universe that they're working on, and they're going all the way into this shit. They want to make several movies with all this stuff. So unlike the Visionaries episode that we had, there is no reaction to a cartoon because there isn't one. There was never a ROM cartoon.
Yeah. We're just going to read through issue 1 and react to panels.
I thought about that. I actually thought about that, but I couldn't. I wanted to find the original, and Comixology doesn't have it.
You know.
So,
all right, yeah, it would have been a fun thing to be able to put voices to or whatever, but I don't know, maybe more trouble than it's worth at this point.
Since we don't have a cartoon to react to, we're just going to go into the thoughts and pitches. So we wanted to talk about. So Stefan, how would you make a ROM movie?
I think, you know, in a perfect world, you could find some kind of deal where Marvel would let you use the ROM name, and ROM would be ROM the Space Knight, ROM the Wraith Slayer. You know, you'd have to, but like I was saying about James Gunn's quote and stuff like that, maybe pare it down a little bit, or maybe even do like kind of like a prequel version of it where it is the Space Knights prior to ROM coming, and kind of showing, you know, whether or not it can stand the test of, you know, the modern audience, and whether or not it'll be a hit. So do like a Space Knights prequel where you have a lot of the stuff that really made ROM good, but as like kind of a precursor to that. So maybe subtly pushing into that, and by doing that, you know, you can you know, ROM, as we know him, he looks a certain way and react and changes a certain way and has certain powers. But who's to say the other Space Knights, quote unquote, don't have differentials to the design of their, their abilities and their costume or whatever, their Space Knight armor. So you could elaborate on that a little bit more, and that could be really fun to me, I think, to have like maybe like a team of 3 to 4 Space Knights that were on some kind of mission to fucking fuck up some dire wraiths.
And that would be a whole prequel movie.
Maybe a prequel. I think it'd be if Marvel, I was thinking this earlier, like I think Marvel, there's no reason Marvel shouldn't be doing more high quality animated films right now, which I think would be cool. And this would be a really cool thing to maybe launch, would do like a Marvel animation department where they're teamed with Hasbro to create the toys for it. You would fucking marry, I'm sure they could do something like that because they already have the Marvel Legends and everything, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be it's a Marvel property and we can cross it over later or whatever. But do a fucking ROM the Space Knight animated film. Do it in my heart of hearts in like the most ideal way. Do it like a fucking Ralph Bakshi 80s Fire and Ice fucking, you know, a little higher quality, but that same kind of 80s aesthetic animated style. That'd
be amazing, man.
Yeah, really appeal to the retro audience. Get somebody great for the voice of ROM. Really inject it with personality. Draw from the comic books. Start an animation wing. Do some great toys. That's how I would do a ROM movie, honestly. But if you couldn't work yourself around those licenses, I think rolling with like a live action Space Knights movie could open the door to just being able to kind of create this new and original IP, but also you're still allowed to draw from the mythology of what made the ROM character so good. So you have 2 options there, and I think one is better than the other.
All right. Well, I would just go straight into ROM. You definitely need the Space Knights in there. It sucks that they're all separated. But I think really it hinges upon, like, you need to see him as apparently, before he's a robot. I think it's incredibly important that you spend
the transformation for sure.
You need to have a Skinny Steve long section of
I want to save the day!
But I
These
mean, like,
people are dying! That's what he sounds like. That's what ROM sounds like. These people are dying and I'm a hero! No,
I don't know if many people wouldn't see that. But I'm talking about, like, in Captain America 1, they spent quite a long time with Skinny Steve.
Yeah,
so
right.
I think
that
amount of time with him as a human form.
That's what I'm saying. And then you get Keith David, who comes in there as the voice of ROM.
Actually, that'd be really great. That would be good.
He's like, how does he sound? He's like, don't, no, that's too racist.
Say I'm going to take...
I'm
going to destroy some dire wraiths or something like that.
Yeah.
Take it away, Stephen.
I'm going to destroy some dire wraiths. This is an injustice to the galaxy.
No, it could be better. Keith David, I think, would be my pick for the voice, but it could be better. I do a good Keith David from Requiem for a Dream. I know it's pretty, baby, but I didn't take it out for air. Something like that. But, ROM, I think he'd be good for it. He did Spawn, kind of coming from that angle, but now he's a robot, so he's a little more
I think we all know Keith David's best role ever is There's Something About Mary. The bathroom's that way, and he's already headed that way. He's fucking Mary's dad, remember?
Yeah, that's a deep cut. I totally forgot about that.
Deep cut, baby. Bathroom's that way. Oh God, I love Keith David in that movie, dude.
I
fucking
do too.
So good.
He's great.
Woogie, Willie, what? Woogie. Oh,
Get out of my head.
He's the best as Spawn.
Get out of my head.
Keith David fucking rules.
He'd be my voice for ROM.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe it's.
I don't actually. I'm not
like
sure.
that.
I'm glad you had an answer, man, because I don't really know who the fuck I'd have voice, but I do think as far as like a
either
whole
him or like my top choice. My choice, pretty much always throw in Idris Elba. Just throw him in there.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I just want him to be human at first. Let's get a good idea of who he is human, and then he goes on this huge adventure, and he's pretty much faceless, but you can still, through the drama of everything, you can you can still see what's on his face, and maybe you can add expressions to the red LEDs in his lights a little bit.
It would be like what you'd have to do.
Some flourishes to those lights.
Yeah, I would make this suggestion to Hasbro-verse Paramount, or whoever is going to end up ultimately making this thing. I would say study mask work from like actors and performers, like body language and stuff. Power Rangers even.
Yeah, there's a lot of that actually. Yeah,
you could evoke a lot of this character's emotion through the body language, as opposed to just relying on like some type of facial animation or the eyes maybe moving Wall-E style. You know, or even Eva or whatever. You know, you could kind of have you could have a mix of the two, where the red eyes, Rom's red eyes, are kind of animated Spider-Man style or something, like just subtly, and as well as the body language. I think you could get a lot out of it, especially if it's really trippy or heady at times. You know, you could get a real Doctor Strange kind of pathos going, and Keith David will come in and be like, you know, this is not right. These dire wraiths need to go because I'm a Space Knight, and I'm getting there. But you know, it's going to be really good once these motherfuckers. It'll be hard R. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, move on before I embarrass myself.
It's probably fine.
But I'm honing in on this Keith David Rom the Space Knight voice.
If Keith David is the voice of Rom, then I know it's two black dudes, but like Idris Elba as a Space Knight, that'd be cool.
Right? Yeah, you just do Keith David, but then you add a little bit of a British accent to it, and it's like, Rom, the dire wraiths have been here.
Oh, I got it. Here's the formula.
Yeah.
Rom's totally good. I forget the D&D categories here. He's lawful good or whatever the fuck it is.
Right.
And then you got the one in the middle is the Space Knight. He kind of is gray, and the dire wraith is chaotic evil.
Okay. Right.
I mean, that's very broad strokes there, and they probably already got that covered in the original
it works.
source material.
That's the kind of like, what would you even call it? Like the thematic structure, or not even thematic.
That's the shit I hone in on, man. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
but sure, what they represent, right? I like the chaotic evil, and then you have like the middle ground, and then you have the totally good. So Rom would be like just kind of like a crusader of sorts, you know, and then like a Space Knight. So would this Space Knight be like his liaison to because then you're kind of running into like an origin story type of deal where you're having some guy.
I would view it as a Space Knight is
maybe he's like a rogue,
sort of in a bad environment. The Space Knights are in a bad guy. They're basically bad guys, but I guess maybe I'm kind of viewing it as Finn a little bit, like from Star Wars.
Yeah.
He's part of. They're like stormtroopers, but they are a little bit more autonomous, I guess. And then the one Space Knight that deals with Rom is the Finn-like one, but he breaks away from the group, but he's not quite as good as Finn either. But he's definitely not quite as bad as the other guy, so he's very much in the middle.
Yeah. Would it be too much of a reach to say that maybe one of the dire wraiths are like kind of an ancient version of the Space Knights or something like that?
That'd be cool. So
there's kind of like, you know, you're talking about this gray Space Knight kind of character who's maybe an influence as opposed to being like kind of a teacher or whatever, or something of a like kind of like a leaving the breadcrumbs type of character, or manipulator of some sort, who you don't really know is good or bad. But then, you know, there's a deeper mythology where the dire wraiths are just kind of like an earlier version, a more primitive version of this type of galactic enforcer.
I think that's great. You can play with the long timelines that sci-fi can allow.
There's something ancient about it, you know, and Rom is like the new hot shit. So the Space Knight could even be in between somewhere, you know what I mean?
The dire wraiths have lived long enough to see them become the villain.
Yeah.
So, pretty much rounding all this out, guys, the more and more research I do on this, I am very excited about a new cinematic universe, and having just, you know, cooler, you know, more cool movies to see in the theater, you know, because right now it's mostly Marvel stuff, just for variety's sake, and to be kind of in the same thing but totally different at the same time. So, how do you feel about all this, Stefan?
I think it's like, you know, it seems, from where I'm standing currently, it seems like just wild enough to work, you know? And we were getting into talking about Bumblebee, and I've honestly been vehemently opposed, like repulsed by the current Transformers films.
Yeah.
But and I like to think I have this sixth sense about trailers and shit. I like to talk about that a lot. But when I saw Bumblebee, I was like, it looks the same. I get that, but it feels so different. And when Maddie, last episode when Maddie was saying like, I'm not excited about it, I'm like, how could you not be, dude? Like, this is, it's different. It's just, it's like it could go one way or the other, and it's still Platinum Dunes, but it seems like, in the information age that we're in, they're listening,
I think so. Even the guy from Leica, the guy that did Kubo, man.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah.
That guy's directing this movie?
Fuck yeah, dude. It's gonna be cool. I feel like I have like kind of an instinct about it. I'm excited about it. If anything, And so the Hasbro-verse thing, I'm like, if they fucking lead with like a Transformers movie that is palpable for, because I guarantee you at every convention, true, like hardcore Transformers fans do not like those movies. They don't resemble
I grew up
anything.
Loving the shit out of Transformers.
Wait,
that was my main thing.
I didn't mean to say you. Or
no,
anything,
I know, but I'm adding to what you're saying. Like,
right.
When I walked out of the theater years ago seeing Transformers the movie, a movie I'd always wanted to see.
Yeah.
And I just felt let down. I really did. And everybody knows me. I'm pretty easy on movies, but with that I was just like, what happened here, man? This is just not right.
I like, like a lot of people like to throw around the, like Lucas ruined Star Wars, I hate Star Wars, or Disney killed Star Wars, I'm not watching it. But for me, Michael Bay really killed Transformers for me, because I've said on the podcast that I'd never really liked him so much, but I did like him. I just didn't have a whole lot of him as a kid. I did like him, and I was really excited for a Transformers movie, but it just felt like he made a Transformers movie out of like hate for the fact that people wanted a Transformers movie. Like, all right, fine, here. It's like going into a restaurant and they're just like, oh, you want some food? Okay, hold on. Let me get you some food. It's like, why do you have a restaurant? Why are you making movies? It felt like such a hateful, like, a crumpled up piece of tinfoil they just threw at you, like, here's your Transformers, you fucking... It felt so spiteful.
It didn't feel like a fan was making it. And look, they were very successful. They made 4 or 5 films. I get it from a Hollywood producer standpoint, but as good films, it's just not a good... They're not good films. They're not.
Yeah. And Bumblebee, like, I wouldn't probably have called it Bumblebee to like lead out that way or whatever, but like I guess people are familiar enough to like kind of go there.
It's a household name at this point. People love Bumblebee, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that makes a lot of sense. I guess if there wasn't those Transformers movies, obviously you wouldn't call your first movie Bumblebee, is what I'm saying, I guess.
But for them to go in this direction, and
it feels good.
I have not heard a single person online say this is their Iron Man 1. But I would love for it to be if this is a good movie. I think they're kind of waiting to see if this is...
prediction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm excited about it. I feel good about it, and I love G.I. Joe. I'm really into G.I. Joe. Like in my real life, I'm totally not into like military shit like at all. But I love G.I. Joe because of all the characters and the toy history, the video games, the toy history, the fucking vehicles, and all the different characters, Snake Eyes, like all of it. I love G.I. Joe.
It's interesting. We got the full like trifecta or whatever at SuperHouse, because your main shit was G.I. Joe's, mine was Transformers, Joey's was He-Man, and I think Maddie might have been a little He-Man. No, it might have been. I don't know actually about Maddie.
Maddie's kind of in the turtle camp there too. I'm the turtle guy. And
I went from Transformers to Turtles. Like,
oh right, I see what you're saying.
I did both, but as far as like earlier than Turtles, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think once I got the Turtles, we were all on board, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know what Maddie was into then.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But for sure. I really love G.I. Joes. It was like, that was like right the perfect age when I was like picking them up, when I'm like vehicles and weapons, like, oh god, this is cool. It could be anything.
Cobra Commander, I love that look, man.
Yeah, the mask and shit, that sleek mirror mask kind of shit. It was so great, it was all so great. And I've read the comics and stuff. And so, I actually love G.I. Joe so much that I don't hate the movies that they put out. They're not good. But for me, I really enjoy watching them because I I like those characters. And the second one is dope, man. It's not like dope like you need to watch that shit, but if you're a fan of G.I. Joe, and I'm sure every fan of G.I. Joe has seen it multiple times, it's good. It's like Ray Park as fucking Snake Eyes, and he's fucking killing ninjas on a cliff and shit. It's like it's not a good story, but it's enjoyable.
I'm making another announcement. I mean a prediction.
Yeah.
That guy John Cena is either Mask or G.I. Joe.
Yeah, for sure.
They want to get this started fast, not as fast as Justice League.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they'll be like sprinkling in hints, and Cena seems like a prime target for that kind of thing.
He'd be a good Duke, honestly. He'd really embody everything about that kind of Boy Scout soldier, but like amped up, over the top G.I. Joe style. Because in those movies they wanted to go there for sure, but it was Steven, what's his face, the guy who did the Daredevil movie, who did the first one. It's not Steven DeKnight. I like Steven DeKnight. It's the guy who did Daredevil, Ghost Rider. What is his name? Dude,
I don't know, man. I can't tell you.
Grumpy old man. Anyway, that director, Steven something, he did Daredevil with Ben Affleck and Ghost Rider with Nick Cage. He also directed the first G.I. Joe movie with who was it? Channing Tatum played Duke.
Yeah.
Oh man. So anyway, and then the second one, it was mostly like a rock movie. It's like I think one of the better rock movies, to be completely honest.
Nice.
And anyway, so to see John Cena come in, and he could really boost that franchise and get it off the ground. I don't know what you'd have to do to make it pop, because for some reason there's no G.I. Joe toys out now. There's no animated series. There's no movie.
It's dead, right? It's fucking dead.
It's dead, right? It's Fantastic Four right now for Hasbro, really, for this universe. So
wow, that's a nice way to put it. Their biggest challenge, and I know we need to wrap it out here real quick,
for sure.
But before we go, their biggest challenge is a lot of it, other than Transformers and G.I. Joe, a lot of it was super niche, like even Mask, right?
Yeah.
And definitely Micronauts and ROM. So you have stuff like their whole cinematic universe is a bunch of Guardians of the Galaxy type shit. People know Venom, people know Spider-Man, people know even before the movies.
Yeah.
But now they have this huge hurdle of trying to get people to follow a whole cinematic franchise based on shit people don't even know. There's no childhoods to ruin because no one gave a shit even then. But I mean, not many people, very niche, right? So, there are definitely fans, especially like we've said, like ROM has a bunch of fans, and we'll get to the other properties later too. But there's more of a challenge there, I think, than Marvel even had in the beginning, because people even knew Iron Man to a certain degree. Most people did, but I think that also makes it exciting because it makes it fresher, and even though it is following in Marvel's footsteps, at least it'll be something cool and new, and I don't know, it'll be fun.
Yeah, and honestly, from a kind of a business standpoint, I think by saying like this thing was based on a comic book, like now that really has a lot of weight. Because all the fucking huge movies right now that aren't nominated for Oscars are fucking comic book movies.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We are going to be putting this episode into the Shinfo cast. That's SuperHouse Info cast playlist.
It sounds like the Japanese samurai anime or something. Shinfo.
I know. We're so good at branding here, y'all.
Fuck yeah, I got that shit.
This currently also has the Visionaries Knights of the Magical Light episode, the Doctor Strange and the Occult episode, and our Top 10 Video Game Conspiracies episode.
Nice.
And it will also include next week our Micronauts episode. Hint, hint. Well, it's not even a hint, it's giving it away. Our Micronauts episode is the next in this series, and I am very excited for that.
Awesome.
I didn't really know much about them that much, and then I did some research, and man, they're really fucking cool. Came out just a little bit before I was born. Anyway, we'll get to that next week. So thanks again, Shasta and Matt Herring, for your Patreon contribution.
Thank you,
You
Shasta.
too.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. You too can come to patreon.com/SuperHousePodcast and also throw us a few shekels if you want, and we'll give you a shout out, or we have other tiers as well there. And we're also at SuperHousePod.com. We're at Facebook.com/SuperHousePodcast, and we're SuperHouse Podcast on SuperHouse Pod on Twitter and SuperHouse Podcast on Instagram. And that might be it for Superhouse. I am Thunderwolf Drew on Twitter, and pretty much that's how you can find me. Oh, I'm also Thunderwolf Lives on Instagram. And what was your shit again, Stefan?
I don't really have much. I'm on Instagram. My name's Stefan Santa Cruz without the vowels and an F instead of a PH in the Stefan part. If you want to check out some travel photos I had, that's my shit. But honestly, I don't know, I'm on Facebook. I'm actually, if you search Social Windows, I have a page on Facebook where I post memes and just odd shit that I find on the internet that doesn't really pertain to either a lot of the personal people I have in my life or the Superhouse stuff. So it's just kind of a miscellaneous odds and ends of things. Sometimes it's futurist technological articles or something political or something, some art or something like that. So that page I'd like to get going more. So search Social Windows on Facebook and post a lot of art there and stuff and photos I find.
I didn't even know that. You also post shit on the Superhouse Facebook page a lot, so there's
yeah,
that.
For sure. Anytime I find an interesting story or that pertains to our geek life, I like to post that shit too. And as I get more time, I'm hoping the winter, being more kind of forced to be inside and stuff. Summer was really fun, there's a lot going on. But I'm hoping with the winter I'll be able to power through a lot more of these fun projects that I have in mind for the Superhouse community.
He also got Hot Packager Toy Show as well.
Hell yeah.
On YouTube.
Which also, announcement, I won't be able to make it for the Micronauts episode, I don't think. I'm on my way out to Burning Man. I'll try and post some Instagrams or make a video or something like that, depending. I don't think I'll have service, but depending on what I can get, I'll probably do a little something for Superhouse in terms of our travel segments.
Right.
But I think I'm gonna miss the Micronauts episode, which I'm bummed about. But I'll be back.
It's gonna
for
be a
more
good
of
one,
these.
man.
Yeah, I'm digging the Hasbro-verse deep dive, and more obscure characters to come.
Part of this also is just there's not shit in the theater, man, in August.
Isn't it that interesting?
Yeah, it just kind of helped us out to make this instead of our our usual review shit.
It feels like ages since a movie came out. I still need to watch Mission Impossible, and I'm sure a handful of others. But
that was actually pretty good. I didn't know you hadn't seen that.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it. Yeah, I gotta go see that. I've been lazy about it. Well, I've been preparing for this Burning Man shit, but when I get back, I can get back to normal.
So anyway, leave us some reviews in iTunes as well. If you search for Superhouse Podcast in the iTunes store, you will find us. And if you could please leave us the reviews, 5 stars and all that, that'd be great.
Hell yeah.
And that's basically it. This is Andrew signing off. Catch us for Micronauts next week.
This is Stefan, and I'm signing off. Hell yeah.
This is Stefan from the Superhouse Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Patreon, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and any other godforsaken social media outlet that we should be floating on.
We are basically on all social media.
Yeah, all social media.
Mainly Facebook and Twitter and Patreon.
Check out the links in the description.
We have a lot of cool goals set up on our Patreon. Like if you donate $1, you'll be able to give us a topic for us to talk about, and we'll talk about for maybe an hour or more. Who knows how long it'll take?
And that's pretty tight.
That's the coolest thing.
Wait, we're on the internet?
That's pretty good.
We can make money.
What?
If you donate $1,000, you get full frontal nudes.
We haven't set that up, but it's a possibility. You give us $1,000, who knows what'll happen?
Check us out.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
You get to go on a date with one of us for $10,000.
But you pay for everything.
You get to have your way with Maddie for $20,000.
For $1 million, I'll give you Joey for a weekend.
For $30,000, we'll help you hide a body. Check out our Patreon.
Superhouse Gigolo Project.
2018.
Links in the description.